Sensor piece of equipment that measures conductivity, temperature, and depth, and we use that to get an accurate sound speed profile for our multi-beam sonar.
Coming up.
It's a tool to do shallow water mapping because the draft of the HSL is much less than the ship. It can go into shallow areas like ports where it would be dangerous for the ship to maneuver. So the HSL has sonar systems and side scan equipment for doing mapping, primarily of ports and other shallow locations. This is the EM2040. This is just a computer display. It's a high resolution hydrographic mapping sonar, multi-beam sonar. This is showing the depth here is 13 meters. This is a color-coded depth display of the bottom. This is showing the water column beneath the boat right now. And this is backscatter, which doesn't look very good because we're sitting still. And this is the coverage map. This is what we've surveyed so far in this harbor. The outlines here are of the inner harbor itself. So we are going to finish mapping the inner harbor today. A CTD is a sensor that measures conductivity, temperature, and depth. We lower it in the water column and it measures those from the surface to the bottom. It's important for the sonar system because the sonar system is measuring sound. If the sound is emitted, we have a transmitter, it transmits sound, it hits the bottom, and it bounces back to these receivers that receive the sound. And there's a lot of fancy software and electronics that then calculates the depth from that information. But the sound speed is different in water based on the temperature and salinity. Nominal sound speed is 1,500 meters per second, but it can vary anywhere from 14 to 16. So to get an accurate bottom depth, we have to know what the sound speed is through the water. So we use the CTD to generate a sound velocity profile that gives us the sound speed at every, in this case, half meter from the surface to the bottom, and the sonar uses that to find an accurate bottom depth. The MVP is a moving vessel profiler. It does the same thing that a CTD does, but it measures it in a different way. It's not measuring the salinity. It has a temperature sensor and a sound velocity sensor, which actually has two little sensors in it, and it is constantly transmitting to measure the sound speed in the water. So we need the CTD to get the salinity, and then we can use the MVP to do casts after the initial CTD. And it can be deployed while we're underway. The CTD we have to stop and lower. It's a little bit more cumbersome. The MVP we can leave out and deploy as we go along and survey. We have a side scan sonar. It is a small cylindrical shaped piece of equipment that has a type of sonar on it, but it's made to look out to the side and measure. It's made more for doing investigation of things close to the bottom, because you can put it over the side and tow it close to the bottom, and it can get high resolution pictures of what you see in the sonar. You just know there's something there, you have the depth. But the side scan actually lets you see what the object is. We have navigation systems, so we're getting differential corrected navigation, so everything is precisely located. We have a survey system that allows us to put the lines in and run the boat automatically. We can send guidance to a helm display similar to what we had on the ship that the boat driver can see. He can see where the lines are. He can use the autopilot to automatically track the lines, so he doesn't have to try to steer to stay on course. And he has his ECDIS display too, so he can see the chart of what the depths are supposed to be here. I am the technical lead for the engineering department. The engineering department, we were actually out doing an engineering test on the ship. So typically we go out, we install the equipment, we test the equipment, and we fix it when it breaks. The ship's required to go through a maintenance period. It's required to have 2 every 5 years to get for Coast Guard certification. So we take advantage of during that period, the ship goes into dry dock, where they actually lift it out of the water. So any repairs that have to be done to the ship's crew, the MSC actually runs these ships, Military Sealift Command. They'll do all the ship repairs, and the engineering department for Naval Oceanographic Office will go do the equipment repairs. And we had to replace some of the electronics for our deep water multi-beam system, the EM-124, and also our shallow water multi-beam system on the ship. We had to replace the arrays because they were no longer working. And we did a lot of software upgrades and computer replacements. So normally after a shipyard, we'll go out and do a re-baseline of all the equipment just to test everything, make sure it all works. And if we've replaced anything like what we did during this one, we'll go revalidate that sonar to say, yes, it's meeting the hydrographic standards for the office to use for survey. So we have baseline areas in the Marianas that we've used for testing in the past. They've been really, really great for ships that are in this location. We use the Marianas Trench to validate our deep water system because that is the deepest spot in the ocean. It's the perfect place to test the full ocean capability of the sonar. We also have shallow test areas off of Saipan. There's some reefs and little shelves up around Saipan and Tinian that we use. So this is a really good location to do our baseline testing.